What's up? What's up? This is Jack, your boy Jack. I know I haven't seen y'all in a while, but I have to talk about this topic because it's something that I talk about all the time, and that's real true masculinity. It is under attack today. And I was watching this video while I was getting ready to work out today, and I was just like, this is so much wrong in the way this young man Hunter thinks about masculinity. He's talking to Sneako, who I align with a little bit more. I think Sneako made some great points, but I also think that he doesn't fully. Let me word this correctly. He's going the right direction, but the young men of today don't have a full understanding or grasp of what it takes to be a masculine male in society. And I'm not gonna lie, it made me angry to listen to this young man Hunter try to explain away what masculinity actually is and what is toxic masculinity and all these things that he thinks needs to be better and the things that he thinks Sneako is doing wrong. Without wasting time, let's just get into this.
I'm not really familiar with your content, and I just saw that Fresh and Fit reaction. And just to get into the debate / conversation, can you explain your point of view?
Well, I thought that we were going to talk about masculinity primarily. So I'd be more than happy to just jump into that, because when I watched your reaction to my Fresh and Fit breakdown, I think that you were like, you seemed like floored over my statement that masculinity is a social construct.
What does that mean to you?
Masculinity is a social construct. This is the premise that a lot of the left-wing ideology want you to accept. That masculinity is this made-up thing that we in society have made up for whatever reason. This is nonsense. Absolutely, this infuriates me so much because it's just the ignorance of science and how mammals even work. How is masculinity a social construct if you study every mammal species on the planet? There's a certain way that males act and a certain way that females act, a certain way that men hunt, the males of the species, a certain way that females hunt, a certain way that men act when they're fighting for their territory, and a certain way that females act. How is it a social construct if it's all the way across every mammal species there are clear differences? It can't be a social construct. Here's the thing. Oh, see? It's getting me triggered in the words of Destiny. It's getting me triggered. Here's the thing that's going on. They want it to be a social construct so that they can be the god of over their own lives. Because if something is a social construct, then we can just change it, right? We can just change the fact that we don't like how men act. Because it's not really something that men do. This is something society has told you to do. So therefore, if we want to just change it and tell men that they should just wear dresses and like the color pink and dance around and twerk on YouTube and TikTok, then we can just change that social construct and make it acceptable, right? But that's not the case. There's certain things men do and certain things women do, and you can't change that no matter how you word it. Get me right.
I hear that being thrown around by a lot of Twitter liberal people.
Exactly.
What does that mean, masculinity is a social construct?
So what it means is a lot of the times people think that masculine and male are just one and the same, like synonymous, when in reality there is biological males, of course, and then the expectations that we place on those males, how they should communicate the fact that they are male, is masculinity. And
Wrong. How they should communicate the fact that they are male. It ain't about how you communicate. It's what you do. It's not about people telling you have to communicate that you're a male by wearing blue. You have to communicate you're a male by having more muscles and being stronger than the average woman. No, that's what males are. Whether we like it or not, the average male is taller than the average woman. The average male is stronger than the average woman. There may be little things that go outside of the norm. You might find a woman that's a bodybuilder that's stronger than the average male. But that is not the norm. And you can classify things by the majority. You can classify things by saying men on average are taller. Men on average have more testosterone. Men on average do these certain things. You can't be like, well, these are things that society has told us to be. No, they're not. They're things that are. You don't like the facts.
It's that is socially constructed. So there are definitely biological characteristics that we have classified as masculine, like physical strength, right? But there's not any one way to be masculine. And finally, I think another good example is that height.
There's not one way to be masculine?
No, there's not just one way to be masculine. You could be weak physically, but engage in other types of behaviors that might be categorized as masculine.
No, you can't. And let me explain this. Part of being masculine, you fit a certain criteria. If you are a weak man, you are less masculine. I don't care how you want to word it or if that makes you feel bad. If you're a weak man, right? If you're a man and you can't even bench press a 45-pound bar, no matter what your reasons, you could have a shoulder injury, whatever. It doesn't matter. The world doesn't like these facts because it's black and white. If you are a weak man and you can't defend yourself in any way, you are less masculine than a man that can. You don't have to like it, but it is what it is. There are men that are more masculine than me. There are men that are more in shape than me. There are men that can go and hunt and survive in the forest without barely anything, and I can't do certain things. They are more masculine than me. And then there are a lot of men, such as the man in the black on the video, the boy in the black, that I am more masculine than. And we don't like to say that because that sets parameters and gives definitions and definites to things that society, the liberals, the left-wing ideology don't want to make those definites because they want to have control and they want to define what a man is. Actually, they don't want to define anything. They want to keep everything ambiguous so that they can become gods over their own lives.
There's no one way to be masculine.
Okay, do you think you're as masculine as somebody like a UFC fighter?
That's kind of the point I was making.
Or even me? Or would you, okay, why? Is that a social construct or is that just basic biology?
No, because what you're missing is that we as humans have categorized these certain behaviors as being masculine. So you saying, I have big muscles, we have categorized that as masculine. Okay, women can have big muscles, but it doesn't mean that she's necessarily masculine. Similarly, height also is oftentimes considered masculine, and that is also based on biology, but it's women who wear high heels to become taller, and that's considered feminine. So height can be masculine, but if a woman is
oh my God, let me let this man finish his point.
Tall because she's wearing high heels, that would be feminine.
No, women don't wear high heels to be taller. Women wear high heels because it insinuates the female form. Have you seen a woman in high heels and how it causes the body to sit up straight so that you can see the form better rather than if a woman is slouching? If you look at a woman walking high heels, you will have to acknowledge that it's far more feminine. Not just because of social construct, it's because it insinuates the form when she walks and it causes us to be able to see the curves in her body better. It's not because it makes her taller. What? Oh my goodness, dude. It's like these people just come to the whatever assessment fits their ideology best. So now being taller because you wear high heels is more feminine. No, wearing high heels is feminine because it insinuates the female form. That's why women do it.
No, when you say social construct, when I hear people say this, it basically just comes down to the fact that you're just like, humans have definitions for words. That's it.
Well, partially, yeah, but that doesn't mean that everything is a social construct. Because again, it's not just the definitions, it's also what is the definition referring to. There's a collection of behaviors that are laid out in society as to how men should behave.
No.
And that's considered masculinity.
No.
I can give you an example here. This comes from the Conformity to Masculine Norms Inventory.
Here we go. So this is what liberals often do. And they hate when conservatives do it, but they do it all the time. They will refer to a liberal biased article to support their claims. This is nonsense, because you can find an article that supports anything you want to say. Right now, there is abundance of articles that says men and women have no biological differences and there's no difference between a man and a woman, and it's beneficial for your kid to cut off their penis to become a girl if they want to. You can find articles that support that. It doesn't matter that in 10 years we will look back and say that was the stupidest decision we can make. There were articles in the past that said slavery was correct because black people were scientifically lesser than white people. There were articles, they had little charts and they had little pictures that show why black people were closer to monkeys and all types of stuff. Your articles mean nothing because they're biased. So come on, I hate when they do that because they hate when conservatives, the first thing they say is, where'd you get your article from? Is that from Fox News? That's from Fox News, isn't it? They always do that. But then when they talk about their article, this is just scientific. No, it's not. It's extremely biased.
It specified 11 norms as far as masculinity: winning, emotional control, risk-taking, violence, dominance, playboy, self-reliance, primacy of work, power over women, disdain for homosexuality, and pursuit of status. So plenty of that is socially constructed. The idea that you're a man, you need to be winning, that's socially constructed.
No, it's not. And let me explain why. Because if you don't win, and in nature you lose, and you're defined by being a loser, guess what happens? You die. You don't get to provide. You don't get to gather up your resources. You don't get to procreate. If you're a loser, this is throughout all male species. If you are a loser, you will not survive. If you're not strong, somebody can come take your stuff. We have made society so easy now that we don't see it that way. But it's still the reality. We just have different strengths and weaknesses than we otherwise used to consider back in history. So now, it's not that hunting tribes will come and take your woman. It's that, oh, I'm lit on Instagram, so I have all the women. But it's still the same dynamic. It's just in a different way. A blue check can come take your girl now. It's not where it used to be, where the leader of the tribe can come take your girl. But it's still the same thing.
There's nothing innate to men that means they have to win.
What's your point?
Yes,
what's
it
the
is.
point in saying
Yes,
that's
it
a
is.
social construct?
You
My
have to
point
win.
is that we have decided that certain behavior is masculine.
He's going to start citing all these studies. Let me cite a study. Do you know that the more you win, the more you overcome, the more that you win a battle in life, whether it be a wrestling match, a boxing match, or you win a chess game, your testosterone goes up? Did you know that? Did you know that testosterone is one of the differentiations or one of the things that make us different than the female species? So for somebody to say that winning is social construct that we attribute to men, no, men have to win. It's so stupid to think this way, that try to get a girlfriend if you're not a winner. Try to get girls to pay attention to you if you're not a winner. Just go out and try it. Say, I'm a loser. I have nothing going for me in life. The world looks at me as a loser, but I still want the female sex to pay attention to me. See how that works out for you. You will get no attention because the world still operates on winners and losers, and winners must be masculine. Women do not have to necessarily win. They could be a loser eating Cheetos in their house, in their basement, playing video games. And if they naturally fine, if they just have good genetics, curvy, and got a cute face, they will win in life. They don't have to go out and pursue things like men do. Men have to drive the nice car, look nice, dress nice, have charisma, know how to talk, all these different things. And I'm not mad about that. That's the way it's supposed to be. I like to provide for my family. I like to go out and win and conquer. I like to do those things. I'm not mad that men and women are different. You are. That's why you have to make it a social construct so that you can do what you want to do. You can say, well, I'm a loser, but I'm still okay because being a loser is just a social construct created by society, and so therefore being a loser is okay. But your life will tell you different. The fact that most of these dudes nowadays struggle with mental illness, you cannot ignore reality. It's going to come back and get you.
And so long as we're able to acknowledge that, we can also then have conversations about the aspects of masculinity that are harmful to men.
Toxic masculinity?
Partially, but I also recognize how that term has been just...
Well, that's what you're saying. You're saying harmful masculinity. It's the same thing. So you're saying that there's certain parts of masculinity that we shouldn't embrace, and we should let that go because it's toxic, harmful.
Well, yeah, partially, yes, but it's not just toxic to, like...
Partially, yes. You don't like the fact that men are men. Traditional masculinity is what we need to strive for. The world nowadays, you can see it in a lot of their philosophies when it comes to commercials and a lot of their campaigns and what they push for. Even look at the campaigns recently that have gotten a lot of scrutiny with the Gillette commercials. They are pushing to destroy traditional masculinity. Men roughhousing is looked at as bad. Men competing is looked at as bad. We have articles now that say if you lift weights, you're a right-wing extremist. This is a push to destroy traditional masculinity. People that hunt. People that go outside and chop wood. People that lift weights. People that want to be stronger. People that compete. People that actually fight for a living. These are looked at as bad in society. There's no denying that. Come on now. We all see it.
The women, right? It's toxic to the men. It hurts men specifically.
No, it doesn't.
And that's why
what parts of what do you think is toxic masculinity?
The idea that you should suppress emotion.
You should.
The idea that showing if you cry, for example, as a man, that's seen as being weak.
It is.
That is absolutely detrimental to
you're really gonna
a man's
argue.
mental
You're really
well-being.
going to argue with me and say that crying isn't weak?
It's not. And it's further evidenced by the fact that...
He even sounds more feminine. It's not. It is. If you cry in front of me as a man, I, in my back of my head, will not trust you with doing any tasks that need to get done. If you sit there and you're crying about life, I will not trust you. I won't trust you because I know you can't handle simple things in life. Depending on what you're crying about, yes. There are some times in life where as a man it's okay to cry. Family death. Or finding out there's impending death on your family. Saying you're finding out your best friend got cancer and there's nothing you can do. It's things like that. But you don't get to sit in that emotion and let that emotion take control. The problem in today's world is not masculinity and people suppressing emotions. It's actually males that do not suppress their emotions. They go out and they'll kill somebody because guess what? You made me mad. You said something I don't like on Facebook. And you disrespected me in a rap song. So now I'm shooting up everybody because I don't know how to suppress my emotions. It is not the other way around.
That masculinity is a social construct. So, for example, this comes from
Wait, no. Okay, don't keep repeating that. How? It's very basic things. Like, yes, you should be able to express your emotions, but would you cry on camera?
Yes.
I mean, maybe it would depend on what I was talking about.
I'm crying right now on the inside.
Wait, hold on. I'm not just repeating that masculinity is a social construct. I'm explaining that in the Middle Ages, there was a trope of masculine weeping being a mark of religious devotion and knightly chivalry.
What? Okay, this is a dumb point. The reason why there was an example of that was because religion was something that everyone could strive to devote their life to and was looked at as the most important thing that you can strive to devote your life to at that time. God was the highest being. So to devote your life in reverence to him was looked at as an honorable thing, that there's no higher thing you could strive to devote your life to. So when a man was crying in a religious reverence to the almighty creator of the universe, God, that was looked at as very masculine, because he wasn't crying about any little thing. He was crying about the reverence of almighty God. That's not the same, man. It wasn't. Now imagine if back in the day, hey, son, can you go get the horses ready? We got a long trip. That's so hard. Imagine if he was crying about that. Hey, son, we gotta go get some water because our family. Life is so hard. Now you could say I'm making the wrong comparison, and that people in today's world don't cry about everything. That's not true. Go on TikTok right now. You will see young men crying because they work at Starbucks, and Starbucks is too hard. You will see young men crying because people don't acknowledge their feelings. You will see young men crying because they crashed their car. They're not hurt. They just lost something in life and they don't know how to deal with it. They can't cope. Get over it. Be strong. Overcome. That's how you be a man.
So by the 16th century, it was well established that a masculine man was supposed to have deep emotions and to show them in some
deep
cases
emotions
through
about
tears.
specific things.
So the fact that at one point that was masculine, and nowadays not showing emotion is considered masculine, demonstrates that masculinity has changed.
This is a horrible
which demonstrates that it is a social
because
construct.
you have one thing from the 16th
right,
century.
one thing.
No, that's not just the one thing. Do we want to look back at ancient Greece? You know,
Ancient
small
Greece
penises used to be a symbol of masculinity.
Ancient Greece is a horrible thing to compare masculinity to. Do you know what they did in ancient Greece? They had little sex boys. Look at it. Look it up. Look it up. And you can say, well, you can still have be attracted to the same sex and be masculine. No, you can't. Part of being masculine is being attracted to a woman. That's part of it. You can't have it everywhere. The liberals want to have to define things the way they want. In ancient Greece, they had a problem with bestiality. Look it up. They had a problem having sex with children. Look it up. And they were very open and promiscuous with the same sex. They were not masculine. In fact, some people contribute the Roman downfall and the downfall of Greece to their lack of masculinity. And you could say, well, blah, 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 blah. Well, that's not everyone, because a lot of historians agree that as soon as masculinity and the sexes became ambiguous, that contributed to the downfall of society, and that the same thing is happening to America right now. You got your studies, we got ours.
Masculinity back then.
Yeah, they were also having gay butt sex in Greece.
That's irrelevant to what I just said.
No, it's pretty
Do you
relevant.
acknowledge that certain aspects of masculinity have changed over time and throughout history?
No.
Yeah.
No,
You can
I actually disagree. No. The traditional masculine role has always been to provide, to be strong, to protect, to fight. Those things are why men overwhelmingly like sports. These things are why men compete. These things are why men are attracted to the things that we are attracted to in life, like why we go into STEM and why women go into more social work. They haven't changed, dude. I know you want them to change, but they haven't. Things have become a little more complex in terms of we have made the world less volatile. We have conquered most of the world. There's not most of the parts of the planet that are in third world countries where we have to fight tribes anymore. I would agree. But what makes a man is still the same, dude. You don't have to like it, but it is what it is.
Here to go off into the wrong things, but masculinity and femininity is parallel in every single animal kingdom.
Yes.
Not just humans, but You don't see the leader, the father of a family in any animal needs to be strong, needs to be guided,
Yes.
needs to be winning, bringing food to the table. And if you waste time crying, then someone else is going to eat you alive.
Yes.
Well, we're not.
And
Well,
that's
we are
still
animals,
true.
but we are not animals in the sense that we operate only
We
on
are not
instinct.
animals.
We're human beings. We have far more complex mental.
This same dude will be the same type of person that believe in evolution, that we all came from a rock, that we all came from an amphibian. Either we're animals or we aren't. Make up your mind, man.
Capacity. And you're wrong, because if you want a man to provide for the family, that man needs to be mentally strong enough to do just that. And when you suppress your emotions because you're afraid of looking weak or looking
It's not afraid of looking weak. It's simply you don't understand what it is to be a man. A man is not necessarily suppressing his emotions. He deals with them different than a female does. What females do is when they feel sad, when they feel hurt, when they feel that life is not giving them the things they desire, they go and they socialize. They talk about it with other females. That's normal, and that's good for females to do. When a man is often depressed, it's because he is not winning or getting the results he wants in life, and he needs to become stronger to overcome obstacles. And that's something that we miss today. Because oftentimes people will say, they would try to deal with a man's problems in the same way they did with a female's problems. That's wrong. Buddy, you should just talk more. You should sit on a couch and talk about it. No! What he needs to do is get in the weight room, lift weights, overcome, give him small obstacles that he can overcome so that the bigger obstacles later in life, he knows, I did this before, I can take this, I can do this. That's how you raise a man. Not talking about it and crying. When I see my son sitting down and crying over a small thing, I say, get up. Stop crying. When I see my daughter crying, I say, oh, baby, what's wrong? That's the difference. And you can say that's wrong, but guess what? We'll see in 20 years how my sons turn out versus how this young man turns out in 20 years.
feminine, you are damaging your own mental well-being.
It's not afraid of looking weak or looking feminine. It's just crying and being emotional as a man literally puts you in a vulnerable state.
Yes.
And you're not
No, it
capable.
doesn't necessarily.
Yes, that 100%, that's exactly what crying is being vulnerable. And the more you put yourself in a vulnerable position, the quicker somebody else can take advantage of you. If you spend more time being emotional, then someone else will walk all over you.
Yes.
Okay, well, hold on. I think that you're a little bit confused. It can be vulnerable to express emotions and to cry, yes. But I'm not advocating that men just cry all day, every day at everything.
Well,
yeah, there's a time and a place
but they
to
are,
appropriately
though.
express emotion, of course.
Here's the problem. They are. What men are becoming now, you don't have to look far to see. I remember there was a video, and this was like, this is the norm now. You can't deny it. There was a video about 2-3 years ago when the Star Wars came out, and there was a man doing a review, and he just started crying because he was so filled with glee that Star Wars was coming out. And he just had the most soy-filled look on his face. And it's just, it was disgusting to me. And not only that, but if you go look at reviews of new things coming out, whether it be Final Fantasy or Star Wars, there will be hundreds of men taping themselves in public crying for an imaginary story. This is the norm now. They're crying about everything. I've had several jobs where I've had to sit a man down and say, stop crying.
But this isn't just for men. This is literally for every human being. Women shouldn't be melting down crying at the job either.
But they do.
So there's a time.
This is the difference, is that it's acceptable for women to do that. It's acceptable because they are the more emotional sex. We can't deny that. Every job that I've had, every single one, whether I was working retail, whether I was working in a food service, whether I was a server, every single job I've had, I can remember a woman crying because she was overwhelmed or she was on that time of the month or something like that, going in the back and the other woman consoling her. I'm seeing more and more of that from men because men become weak. They have become weaker. But every single job I've had, I've seen women break down because they were just, something was just overwhelming to them. And it was accepted, socially accepted that, oh, she's going through something right now. Don't be mean to her. We'll let her go home early, blah, blah, blah. And it was socially accepted. It's like, okay, yeah, she's going through something. We all know. We didn't want to say it's because she's a girl, but we all knew if a man did that and just cried and broke down in the middle of his shift, we would look at him as soft, and we should. Because it should be acceptable for a woman, but it's not acceptable for a man. That double standard is something I accept.
I'm in a place to express those emotions, and again, it's okay for a man to be vulnerable at times. That is a necessary component of, honestly, the human experience and the ability to better your own mental health. I'll read you some of this.
I don't want to keep reading.
I'll read you some of this. Mental health. Why is it the world is as soft as it's ever been? Things are as easy as they have ever been in throughout human history. And men are struggling with mental health even more than they ever have. Especially in the West, where things are easier than they are in the rest of the world. Why? The answer is, men are supposed to be struggling, and most men in the West don't have a purpose. They go throughout life, they play video games, they look at pornography, and then they go to sleep. And then they wake up and do it again the next day. And then they wonder why they're depressed, because you never struggled in life. You don't have a purpose. You have nothing to overcome. And you know in the back of your head you don't have a purpose to live. That's why you're taking guns and shooting up schools and doing dumb stuff like that. Because you don't have a purpose. You need to struggle. It used to be back like in the 1930s, 40s, and 50s that men would love to go to war because it gave them a purpose. They was fighting for something, whether you agree with it or not. They had creeds. They had purpose. They fought for their country. They had honor. Now we don't have any of that. And then men are more depressed than they've ever been, and we wonder why.
Studies and stuff like that. I want to have a conversation.
Well, I know you don't, because they all contradict all of this dumb shit you constantly advocate for.
What dumb shit do I constantly advocate for?
You have talked all the time about how men don't need to be in therapy talking about their feelings. They need a tough older brother to just go punch them and tell them to shut the fuck up, or tough it out, pussy, or something like that. So yeah, you have advocated against the idea of men being intent.
Therapy is a scam. Therapy is a scam. You know why? Look at a therapist. Where do they lean? They show me a therapist that does accept any ideology other than the super far left-wing ideology. Show me a therapist that believes in Christian principles. Show me one. Overwhelmingly, I would say, and I know this is I'm just making up statistics on the spot, 95% of therapists are left-leaning. That means that they have a bias. That means that what are they going to tell me if I don't agree with their worldview? They're still going to try to push that left-wing ideology on me. Tell me a therapist that will come out and say something controversial like, I don't believe that homosexuality is right. Tell me a therapist that says, I believe the Bible's principles about marriage, that men should lead and women should follow. Tell me that. Find me one. They're openly biased. They're biased against Christian principles, and they're biased against anything right-wing. So why would I go to somebody who doesn't even hold my worldview and try to get understanding about my own life when I don't agree with them on anything? It's such a scam. And we need to stop telling people. I remember Kevin Samuels, who I liked, rest in peace. I loved Kevin Samuels. He would always tell people to get therapy. You don't need therapy. You know what you need? People have replaced church with therapy. You're supposed to be around other believers. You're supposed to be in the midst of people that can help you bear your burdens, that you can talk to. That's not therapy. That's just being in church, in a good church. And if you don't have a good church that does that, find a better church.
Or in touch with their emotions.
Do you go to therapy?
No.
Okay, why not?
No.
Well, I used to, but I don't anymore.
Why'd you stop going? Why are you not in touch with your mental health?
Going to therapy is not synonymous with being in touch with your mental health. But when you say they don't need to express emotion, or they don't need to be talking about their feelings, that is advocating for the very problem that is affecting men.
You don't get it. So I don't say that you should suppress your emotions. You should feel it, you should go through it, but you should act accordingly. So you can be emotional and still do what you need to do. Going to therapy, wasting time, and even thinking that it's dumb shit that you should just keep pushing forward is going to be a time waster. So what happened to me recently, like when I got banned on YouTube, was obviously that shit made me feel emotional. 9 years of work, everything deleted, constant hit pieces about me, YouTube taking money away from me, my life's work all being stripped away. I could do what you want to do, go to therapy, I can talk about it, I can cry, or figure out a solution and still feel those things. So I'm not done with my point. Men have the capacity.
Your point is irrelevant here and doesn't actually help your argument.
You didn't hear my point. You didn't hear my point.
I don't need to hear any more of your point or your...
I don't need to hear any more. I've heard enough. I've had enough. That's how they respond to everything. When they hear something they don't like, they gotta shut you down. But if you do do that to them, they get all in their feelings. Let's continue because he's gonna make a really dumb point.
Personal anecdote. I don't give a fuck.
It's not a personal anecdote.
The problem here, Sneako, is that you are creating a dichotomy. It is not either push forward or roll over and start crying at therapy. It's both. It's you can be in touch with your...
No, it's not. You have to make a choice. And what that choice is if you're going to be a person that adheres to their emotions, there's something you need to acknowledge about your emotions. What time have you ever cried about life being too easy? Never. The reason why is because your emotions, you being sad, you being depressed, will always come from an obstacle in life. Controlling your emotions and suppressing your emotions will go alongside of overcoming the obstacle. Never will you be crying emotional because life is just so easy that you can overcome everything. Your emotions will tell you to stop doing what you're doing. Your emotions will tell you, I just don't feel like it today. Life is too hard. Your emotions will tell you, I can't go on any longer. I'm so depressed. Your emotions will tell you, I can't lift weights today. I'm too tired. That's what your emotions will tell you. You have to be able to suppress your emotions to overcome in life. They will never tell you to go and do more. It's suppressing your emotions and doing what you know is necessary that makes you a strong man.
Your feelings and your emotions, learn how to work through that and continue pushing on. I'm not saying people should just give up.
Okay,
you're making this into a dichotomy.
No one said giving up. You're putting words in my mouth. Men have the capacity to feel emotions and then make the decision to keep going. Women and weaker people don't have the same ability to. They need to cry. They need to process it. But it can be processed through work. This new age idea that we need to go cry, that we need to go to therapy, that we need to talk about it, that I need to go on TikTok and talk about my problems is all a waste. When you can just keep pushing forward, you can have conversations with people, but spending more time investing into your feelings is ultimately a waste.
It's a waste.
When you know what to do.
It's a waste.
You're wrong.
Why am I wrong?
Because it's not a dichotomy. You should, quote unquote, know what to do and move forward and push on in your life. But the way in which you can do that more successfully is also by being in touch with your emotions.
Being in touch. What does that mean, being in touch with your emotions? Somebody break it down for me, because I really don't understand. Knowing you have emotions and being in touch with your emotions, what's the difference? If you're telling me that in order for me to be in touch with my emotions, I have to cry about things that make me sad, then I don't need to be in touch with my emotions. When your family is hungry, right? And I've had these situations where I've lost my job before and where I had to figure out how we're going to come on, how I'm going to take care of my wife and family. Crying about it will not get me any closer. Getting up and doing, that's what accomplishes the task.
Crying,
and also,
what does
being
crying
willing
accomplish?
to cry at times.
What does crying accomplish, sir?
Okay, well, it's that crying can scientifically release certain chemicals in your brain that can help you assess the situation better. There's that. And it's also even more so, it's the suppression of emotion and crying that really does the damage. To be crystal clear, especially for people watching, I'm not advocating that all men need to be crying at the same rate as women. That would be pretty silly to expect.
Why not?
However, what I was trying to read you earlier, a second ago, there is a meta-analysis that was done on the relation between repressive coping and certain diseases. And they found that repressive coping literally increases your risk of developing cancer.
Oh, no.
So again, when you make it sound as if boys shouldn't be at therapy talking about their feelings and instead should just have an older brother that tells them to tough it out, pussy,
that's
then
better.
what you're doing is you're contributing to negative outcomes for men.
I'm contributing to cancer?
If you're telling men that they need to repress their emotions?
If you're telling men anything other than what I believe, you're gonna kill them. They're gonna die. That's what they want people to believe. If you tell men to be traditionally masculine, you're killing them.
In order to be a good man or a manly man or masculine, yes.
Okay. What's your demographic? What's your audience?
My YouTube audience?
Yeah. How many females and how many males do you have watching?
I don't know.
You don't know? You should check. So I have 95% males watching. And the reason I had this giant blow up right now and why my stream blew up so fast is because I was connecting with a lot of men who understood that what I was saying is something that they needed to hear, something that they understood inherently. You should check your demographics and see who's watching your videos. And we can get a consensus in my chat right now. You can type a 1 if you agree with me that it's better to keep pushing forward, and type a 2 if you think that you should cry and process everything.
You're doing it again. Why do you keep doing that?
Doing what?
It's not either, because it's not either or. It's not option 1, cry and talk about emotions.
Then let's
or
establish
option
something.
B, push forward. Do both. That's the most healthy way to go.
Doing both is still doing it. So let's make an establishment. I'm saying, here's my argument. It's better to not cry. As a man. Can you make a statement?
Yes, my statement is there's a time and a place to express yourself and express emotions, including crying, and you telling men that they shouldn't cry does harm.
Here's the thing. Okay, we're being a little nitpicky here. It's better to not cry than it is to cry as a man. And yes, there is a time and place to cry. But that time and place often should not be to cry than it should be to cry, if that makes any sense. If you have an option to cry and you have an option not to, as a man, you should teeter on the side of I shouldn't be crying, because that will make you stronger. And you need to learn how to control your emotions, not to just let them out. In fact, if you see these liberal men debate, and I watch a lot of liberal men, whether it be Hassan or H3, whether it be Destiny, whether it be a lot of these guys, Pierce Morgan, every one of them has these moments in their debate where they're so overcome by emotion they can't let you speak because they're gonna overtalk you and you can't say that, and the audacity for you to even spout anything like that is crazy. And it's like they have no control. Now, here's the scary part. When you take that the ability to emotionally suppress, and you take that away, what does that look like in the black community? It's a bunch of men that are hurt by things that people say. And they go out, and the action they take still has just as much capability to damage as a man who is in control of their emotions. They have just as much ability to go out and get a gun and shoot somebody as any police officer, law enforcement officer, or any soldier has. But they don't have not even a tenth of the control of their own emotions. So where a soldier is taught to be stoic, and even if they get their arm shot off, they're supposed to be able to complete the mission and not let their emotions take control. The boys in the hood, what? You said that about my mama? I'm gonna grab a gun. That's not emotional. That's not emotional suppression. And you could try to make an argument, that's because they haven't been learned how to control. No, it's because they're too emotional. It's because they don't know how to suppress their emotions. You can't convince me anything else because I've seen it with my own eyes. The men that go out and grab guns and shoot up the hood are raised by mothers, single mothers, who tell them, "Ooh, baby, I understand how you feel. Go ahead and let it out." They don't tell them, "Get up, stop crying. I don't care how you feel. Don't let words hurt you." They don't tell them that. They tell them, "Let it out. Don't you say nothing about my baby." And those men, those boys, grow up to be men, and they damage society because of it.
You talk constantly. I've watched some of your content. You are consistently talking about men committing suicide at higher rates. That is a legitimate problem in America. And it's already been demonstrated that emotional suppression links the relation between suicidal thoughts and suicidal attempts. You're advocating for something that results in a harm to men.
Emotional suppression?
Yes. I can send you this study too if you like. This is emotional
another
suppression.
study.
Mediates the relation between adverse life events and adolescent suicide, implications for prevention.
Oh my gosh.
And this
Here we go with the suicide talk again.
is just one of many that demonstrates that when you engage in suppressing
This
emotion,
is the problem with modern day liberalism. They blame people's actions on everybody but the person who took the action. If you decide to delete yourself, if you decide to take your own life, that's your action. No one else made you do it. People, it's contributing to the suicide and people deleting themselves. And guess what? If you want to make that action in your life, you can't come back from that. And that's your action. Don't blame that selfish act on somebody else.
emotions as a coping mechanism, you are just
I'm not
increasing
saying
your
suppressing.
likelihood.
I'm not saying suppressing. I'm saying understand what the emotions are and then act accordingly. Because
If
ultimately,
you said, wait, did you not just say the men shouldn't cry?
yeah, that's not suppressing.
Okay, so what if a man wants to cry?
You can feel
and you're
the
telling them not
emotion.
to? Isn't that suppressing it?
No, you can understand what's making you upset. You can feel the
It
emotion.
is suppressing
doesn't
it, but
mean
you
need to
should
act on
suppress it.
You can make the decision to what you want to do in your life. It's very simple. Like right now, obviously getting banned on YouTube makes me upset. I'm not crying about it because I understand that the long term, I'm going to be happier. My emotional state's going to be better if I keep on working. If I go to therapy, then I'm going to be in a downward spiral. Nothing gets accomplished, and I will be more upset because all the work that I've done will go to nothing. That time I spent...
Why do you assume that? Because therapy can actually be incredibly beneficial. There's plenty of evidence that
That's
therapy
your
is benefiting
opinion.
people in their mental health and their mental well-being.
I don't agree, but go ahead. There's plenty of people that are in therapy. I used to work in the prison system. There's plenty of mandatory therapy, and I've never seen it help one person. Not one. In fact, all of the people that had to go through therapy got out and committed even the same crimes. Again, what did it do? What did it do for them? Somebody explain to me this. Somebody show me some results. All the criminals that were in that system that had to go to mandatory anger management and therapy and talk to therapists, they all got out. And the majority, the large majority too, I'm talking about in the 90%, because we had those statistics right in front of us of how many repeating offenders there were. They got out and committed the same exact crimes. Now then people say, well, what type of therapy and what type of therapy? The point is, therapy was there, and it didn't do them any good. So your therapy, I've seen it firsthand that it doesn't work.
You don't need. There's nothing they're going to tell you in therapy that you don't already know. The answers to all your problems are very simple. Your happiness comes from life experience, from love, from gaining more, for accomplishing things, getting respect, living life. That's our happiness. You're not going to therapy to get happy. You're going there to talk about your feelings. There's nothing they're going to tell you that you.
Therapy is feminine. Going and talking about your feelings and your problems and just talking and understanding yourself. That's feminine. Men don't need to do that. The way we understand ourselves and each other is through hard work and struggle.
Don't already know.
That's not necessarily true at all. I don't know why you would assume that.
What's the revelation you've had in therapy?
I don't need to give you a personal experience for what you just said to be incorrect.
Don't.
So a lot of the times, therapists will not give you some big revelation, but instead walk you yourself through certain emotions
I don't
and
need
feelings
nobody
so
to
that
do
you
that.
can come to a better conclusion, or so that you can deal and cope with these things,
Cope.
again, in a more
There's
healthy
their
way.
word.
Okay. It's healthy because that's what they want you to think. They make a lot of money and you keep going back. But then answer this question for me. Why do you think that
there we have the conspiracy.
What's the conspiracy?
He's got to be soy in that cup.
They just want you to keep going back to make money.
That's exactly what it is. That's not a conspiracy. That's the business of therapy. That's how
just
it
if
works.
they make money providing therapy does not mean that they are incentivized or are trying to...
Everybody is incentivized. If therapy actually worked and then the people who actually needed it didn't need it anymore, therapy would be out of business. It's just, that's factual. In the same way that prescription drugs, rarely have I ever seen it heal someone. I'm not talking about make them be able to cope through life because they have manic fits and then the pills calm them down. How many people have you ever actually seen prescription drugs heal so that they don't have the problem anymore? You find that number for me. I'll wait for you.
What, keep people down?
Therapy doesn't end. There's no date where therapy's done. You just keep going every single week. That's not a conspiracy. That's how it works, Hunter. Let me ask you this.
Maybe people leave. Wait, it's possible also that therapy is just effective. People don't go forever. They'll leave once therapy has been effective enough in helping them, in bettering them, their life.
Okay. Sure. Do you see yourself going back to therapy?
Sure.
Yes,
absolutely.
of
there
course.
You go. So it doesn't end. I'm saying I'll never go to therapy. My point
Of course I'm going back.
is,
that's
why
not
do you think...
proving your point at all.
Okay.
I don't think you even understand what you're saying right now. Like, yes, I used to go to therapy. I don't anymore.
You don't understand what you're saying, but I understand you because I went to therapy.
Or now I have different issues in my life that I want to deal with, and sometimes
it's a never-ending problem. It's a never-ending problem. Why
Emotions, feeling stress, yeah, that can be a pretty never-ending problem. Yeah.
Right. Why do you think that I've resonated with so many young men and you haven't?
I don't know, and I don't really care. I think that
we both do content. We both live stream. It's an accurate thing to think about. We're both creating
part of the
content.
reason
We're both
is
talking
that
to people.
I think part of the reason is that you offer a easy way out.
Easy way out? Okay. So what he's arguing is that Sneako's way of toughening through life is easier than crying about your problems. Let's see how he explains that.
At the times don't go to therapy, don't confront your feelings and your emotions. Just stick it out, tough it out. You know,
is that easy? How is that easy? That's the most difficult thing in life. Getting more money,
because telling people to just stick it out is only detrimental to their well-being. The problem is that you resonate with young men. It's true. However, you're resonating with them for the wrong reasons. You're telling these vulnerable and impressionable guys that they need to be suppressing their...
These men are vulnerable. Stop telling them that. You stop it right now. Don't tell them this. This is... It reminds me of when my kids don't like something the other kids say when they was really little, when they say, "You stop saying that! Stop saying it!" Listen, men need to hear stuff. It's some harsh realities that a lot of the people on the left don't want to acknowledge. One of them is this. Most men are not going to be winners. But that doesn't mean you don't strive to teach men to win. And when you teach men to win, there has to be a winner, there has to be a loser. There's going to be some men who never overcome their obstacles. Guess what? That's too bad. As a man, what you should think of is, how do I not become a loser? And you say, well, some men are struggling from mental illnesses. Guess what? That's life. It's life. Some men will struggle, other men won't. In certain aspects. Certain men are tall and handsome, and they will get more girls because of it. So certain men are more charismatic, and they will have an easier life because of it. Certain men are born into money, and they're going to have certain things that other men don't have. Stop crying about the lot you have in life. The Bible actually talks about this, where certain men had gotten talents, a parable that Jesus told. Certain men had got talents, other men didn't. And the man that was not satisfied with his talents buried them in the ground. Complained about the talents that the other men got. He got punished from God. That was the end of the story. He got punishment because he did not do with what God gave him. There's struggles in every man's life. Stop crying and use the talents that God gave you.
Their feelings, which makes it more likely they'll commit suicide, makes it more likely that they'll be depressed, or even act out in violence against women.
Uh-oh.
Like,
Violence against the woman. You can't talking about that. Now, here's the thing. Violence against women is caused by a lack of masculinity, not more. The most violent relationships are lesbian relationships. Two women. Why? Because men are the ones who often abide by logic and women are the ones who often abide by emotion. This is just a fact. Even women, when they're being honest, will tell you that. There's times where their hormones will go up and down and they will operate on emotion. Actually, if you look at domestic violence, you'll see that there's more domestic violence from women to men. It's just that when men commit domestic violence, it's way, way worse because we're stronger and we're more vicious. It's not because the other side is not trying. It's simply because one side is naturally stronger and more aggressive when they do commit that act.
you're contributing to the same problems that you complain about all the time.
It's my fault that there's... Okay. You're saying that it's an easy solution to tough it out. I'm saying no, it's very difficult. What's easier is going to therapy and crying. That's the easy solution. Yes. Paying $150 to sit down on a couch and cry. That's the easy solution. What I'm offering is the hard one. The journey, the life path of a man is very difficult. You need to get in shape. You need to make a...
Look at how upset his face is. It just seems like he's like, the truth is hurting him. He can't take it.
A lot of money. You need to be funny. You need to learn how to talk to women. All that shit that's going to make you happy as a man is extremely difficult. I'm saying, yo, get up. I'm doing push-ups on my stream. I'm trying to inspire that fire that young men have inside of them so that they can make their life better. It's not. That's not an easy solution. That's the journey of a man.
Some of the things you're saying, I don't even necessarily disagree with. Like, yeah, you should do.
But then why would you say it's easy? Then why would you say that what I'm saying is easy?
Because the more challenging thing to do is actually being in touch with your emotions and working through them, not just suppressing them because I'm a man, I just gotta push through, dude.
That's not challenging. That's the easiest thing. See, when I got banned, the easiest thing would be sit there and cry. You know what was harder? Sucking it up and doing a podcast that night.
I don't think you understand, because when you tell guys to just suck it up, there are times, yes, where you do need to suck it up.
There's a lot of times.
I agree with you. This isn't just like a universal rule. However, there are also times when men should and need to express emotions and feelings and even cry if they need to.
The problem is we express emotions differently than women do. And the world is telling us now to express them the same. As I said before, women express emotions socially. Oftentimes when I get angry or frustrated, I need time by myself. When my wife gets angry and frustrated, she wants to talk to me. She wants to talk to her friends. She wants people to relate to her. I don't want that. I want to sit and figure it out. Sometimes I need my time. I don't come over here because I need to figure things out. I'm going through something right now. I need to figure it out. I need my silence. Sometimes I need to de-stress. We don't do it the same as women, though. To act as if we do, or on the same level, is just a lie. And maybe you lack masculinity if you need to go and talk to somebody every time something struggle is happening in your life. Part of that is because you don't know how to figure out or problem solve. If you had the time, if you had the masculinity to figure out and problem solve, you could actually sit in quietness and say, okay, A plus B equals C, and this is what I'm going to do next. Instead of saying, I got to go talk to somebody. I need to let my feelings out. No. Figure out the problem, overcome it, keep going.
Why were you going to therapy?
I was going to therapy because of OCD and depression. It was a long time ago now.
OCD and depression. Take note.
Oh.
Okay. What was? I mean, maybe I don't want to get that personal, but
I do.
OCD, depression.
It benefited me, but I'm not even.
Did you take antidepressants?
Uh-oh.
Yes.
Uh-oh.
Do you think that helped? Do you still take them?
Yes, it has helped immensely.
I bet it did, because what antidepressants do is try to ignore real problems in your life by giving you some pill that's going to ignore the fact that you're sad about things that are actually happening. Let me not be able to change the outside and instead change what's going on in my head. Instead of having the power to change the things around you, you want to take some pill that changes how you feel about the things around you.
Okay, you're on Prozac. You took the booster shot, right?
Prozac.
I'm not on Prozac. No, wait, hold on. We're not going to just pivot away from this. We're not talking about boosters right now.
You took the booster, right?
No, I actually didn't get the booster. I was honestly.
You got vaccinated?
I got 2.
I know where Sneako is going with this. He's basically saying this dude is a bot that will do whatever society tells him to do instead of thinking for itself.
2 doses of the vaccine when it was first happening. I didn't get the booster because I was way too scared that was the one that had the microchip in it.
Whatever.
So I decided to avoid that one. Not to mention when I got the second vaccine, I had a weird fucking side effect where I had this like nearly uncontrollable urge to download Microsoft Windows Explorer.
This is his attempt at making a joke.
Internet Explorer. It was really quite crazy. So,
I've noticed a
before we
parallel.
pivot-
I'm not pivoting. I just want to make this observation. I've noticed a parallel. People who say words like toxic masculinity, who talk about antidepressants and therapy, are also vaccinated. It's all tied in to make everybody controlled. These are things that they do to suppress us and keep us down and have everybody believing in the same thing so that we're easily manipulated.
I know it sounds crazy to the average person, but I agree with Sneako. I agree with him 100%.
And we're compliant. Booster shot, vaccination.
Toxic masculinity. How does
Saying
that...
toxic masculinity because you're crying. You're not embracing your masculine nature. You think that being a man is toxic.
No, I don't.
Yes, you do.
You're wrong. And this is the misconception because a bunch of blue-haired fucking dipshits on Twitter have completely abused the term toxic masculinity.
No, the blue hairs is just honestly saying what the rest of everybody is thinking on the far left. They just have the boldness to say it. People really do believe masculinity is toxic. They've told me. People have come to me and saw how I operate in my family, that I lead my family, that I do a very masculine job, that I teach my sons to grow up and be leaders, that I want my wife to submit to me as the word of God says, and they say, that's toxic. You're a male chauvinistic pig. They have told me that. And I have not abused her. I have not went outside of the boundaries of what the word of God says. I am not anything but traditionally masculine. Never once have I directed my wife to do something crazy. Never once have I beat her or touched her. Never once have I verbally abused or mentally abused her. But people still say it's toxically masculine for some reason.
Masculinity.
And people like you
When
too.
I talk about toxic masculinity, I'm talking about social expectations that are placed on men that are toxic to the man. I'm not talking
Your
about
opinion.
toxic masculinity as it's bad to be a man
Your opinion of that.
or even be masculine. But when you posit these ideas that men need to suppress emotion, tough it out, what you are doing is you are negatively impacting men's mental well-being. And I don't know
disagree.
why, if quote unquote they wanted to control us, they would be advocating to address these toxic expectations that are placed on men.
What?
I mean, if they want to control us, like telling men the type of masculinity, the type of masculinity that you're pushing for, the suppress emotion type, that contributes to more suicide.
Okay,
What? How do you prove that? How do you prove that? Telling men to work hard, to learn how to control their emotions, adds to suicide? I would argue the opposite. That teaching men to be emotional about things that happen, whether they be minuscule or big, teaching them to be more emotional. I just can't. What do people do when they go to therapy? I just can't do it. Tell me how to do it. There's so much happening from over here and over there, and my life is so stressful. I think that contributes to suicide more than anything. Matter of fact, on the job that I do now, I deal with a lot of suicidal people. I have never dealt with a suicidal man that believed the philosophies that Sneako exhibited. I have never dealt with a man that says, be personally responsible, be strong, learn how to control your emotions, and then he's suicidal. Never. They're always these super feminine dudes. They are. It just is what it is. I know that's going to hurt people's feelings, but it is what it is. They always these dudes that be wearing fingernail polish.
How are they going to gain? How are they gaining
You
control?
repeated that 3 times. I mean, basically, and you didn't answer.
Because it's true. Oh, yes.
Okay, you didn't answer the more giant question. Why do you think Like, really try to think about that. Why do you think that I'm connecting with these men and you're not?
I don't know what relevance this has. I think
because
that,
you're
again,
saying the same idea that everyone is pretty much saying. This is what they want us to believe, that it's toxic. Everybody who's talking about this. These ideas come from someplace. This is a new idea. Toxic masculinity, mental health, therapy. These are new ideas that we all start echoing and believing. You see it in articles, you see it on social media, you see it in the news, you hear from everybody in charge.
I don't think you understand how when I talk about toxic masculinity, this is referring to a broad societal problem that is detrimental to men.
Okay.
So if we want to talk about what the APA has said, for example, the American Psychological Association.
Who cares what they say?
Said that
they're super left wing, dude. Show me anything they believe that's on the other side other than the left. Show me.
The pressure that boys and men feel to conform to certain aspects of traditional.
And you could say that I'm just being super biased, and I am. But here's the reality. When an organization is very, very biased, and they don't see anything but from the one side of the perspective, then to me they're very untrustworthy, because why would I adhere or listen to somebody who doesn't even hold my worldview? Of course I'm going to disagree with you. You don't even believe people like me should think the way we think.
Masculinity can lead to poor health outcomes, including higher rates of suicide, substance abuse, violence, and early death.
Yeah.
Now, men committing suicide... Stop. Men committing suicide...
Stop. He said it like a mother who was like telling kids not to say bad words. Just stop.
...is a huge problem, okay? I agree with that. And I also appreciate the fact that you talk about some of these issues. However, the solutions that you're offering are detrimental to men. And not only that...
How are you going to talk about what's better for men if you're... I mean, no offense. You're on antidepressants.
This is a true point. I know y'all ain't gonna like this point, but it's true. If you're taking supplements that are trying to help you deal and cope with your depression, how can you tell men what they should and should not do to not be depressed? You don't have the answer. You ain't got the answer, SOY. You don't have the answer because you're taking pills for it. Are you recommending that every man that struggles? Because every man will struggle with some type of sadness or overwhelming depression throughout their life. Let's just acknowledge that. So should we all be on pills like you? Is it the masculine thing to do to take pills? Should it be? Or is there, if there was a better way to not be on antidepressants, would you even want to know about it? Or do you just want to reaffirm what you already think?
How are you going to talk about what's better for your mental health if you are literally popping a pill every day saying I'm not happy? What the fuck do you know?
You know what an ad hom attack is?
Uh-oh. He's speaking ad hominem.
You know
that's not an ad hominem. Bro, that's not an ad hominem.
Yes, it is. You're not even addressing my argument. You're saying you take pills? What?
You take antidepressants.
It's relevant because you're taking a pill that in your life you're saying you have to acknowledge you're depressed to take antidepressants. And Sneako is saying this is how men should deal with depression and deal with learning how to control your emotions. And you have to take an outward substance to help you control your emotions. You don't see the relevance? This is what they want. And here we go with the they talk, right? They want men to be on antidepressants. They want men to be beholden to a system, beholden to drugs, to be addicted to what they prescribe to you so that they can control you and control society. And if you don't know what they want to do, it's reality of this. You cannot get into a strong man's house before binding the strong man. They know society cannot be controlled if men are strong in their mind, if they don't need what the world is offering, if they have their own moral principles and character. If men have those things, there's no way you can control them. The reason why we're so easily controlled today now, because look at our young men. Look at them. And I'm not even talking about the physical. I'm talking about they're okay with crying about everything. They're on antidepressants. They're taking pills. They're talking to therapy. And life is easier than it's ever been. Why are you so depressed? This boy, look, let me talk to this young man real quick. Look at him. He's sitting in a gamer chair. That chair has to cost somewhere from $150 to $200. He plays video games. I've seen it on his channel. He talks about things for a living and gets paid for it. His life is easy. Compared to the men of history, his life is easy. Compared to my life, I can tell. His life is easy. He ain't never had somebody try to kill him. He ain't never been a 1v5 fight. He ain't never had been shot at. He ain't never been robbed and somebody come up in his house. I can tell all these things have happened to me. And I ain't on no antidepressants. All these things have happened to me. And I'm still here. And guess what? My life is good. And I'm still stable, and I'm still teaching young men how to be masculine because I went through struggles in my life. And those struggles have made me who I am. And since that young man thinks every man should be crying and showing his emotions and his life is easy, he doesn't know what it's like to be a man because he never went through the struggles to become one. He never had to.
You are acknowledging every day, I'm depressed. So what do you know about happiness?
Taking antidepressants is, first of all.
Antidepressants.
Second of all, I don't need to.
That's exactly what antidepressants are. Like Sneako said, it's anti-depressed. You have to take something so that you will not feel depressed. And certain people are going to be mad because I take antidepressants, I take this, and I take that. You shouldn't be. If you're a Christian, the Word of God in Matthew Chapter 7 says, do not be anxious for anything. Do not have anxiety for anything. Jesus said this, his own words. You can't correlate that. You can't take that and then say, I take antidepressants as a Christian man and these antidepressants help me. No, you shouldn't be on them. Because Jesus said it is not something that should be becoming of a Christian man. You shouldn't be anxious for anything. Instead, trust in God. He gave the example of saying, do the birds worry? Or the birds filled with anxiety? They eat what they have for today and then they go on. Somebody make a Christian argument for me why a man should be on antidepressants. I would love to hear it because I don't think there is one.
No, or I don't need to be in the best mental well-being myself to still be able to read what these studies demonstrate.
Yes, you do.
Yes,
you do. This is just common sense. If you're saying, oh, I don't need to be in perfect health to tell people about how they should be in health, actually, that does lead or take away from your credibility. If I'm telling people, hey, man, this is how you run a marathon, and I never ran a marathon in my life, you should not listen to me. If I tell people this is how you become a millionaire and I ain't made but $20, you shouldn't listen to me. Even if my information is right, we as humans can see and make the logical connection that if your actions don't line up with what you're saying, you are not credible. The reason why when we get somebody on the stand, we check their credibility before we allow them to testify is because credibility matters, and your credibility is based on your actions. You can't say I'm credible and what I say should be believed, but my actions don't align with that. You cannot say men should do this for their mental health and you should stop saying what you're saying, but I take pills for my mental health. Because taking pills shows that you are not in control. You need an outside thing to help you control and stabilize it. And if you're telling Sneako what he's saying is wrong, then what you're essentially saying is that what you're doing and what you're saying is right. And all men should be on these things if they can't control their emotions or if they have similar struggles to you. And I do not agree. Get off antidepressants.
Telling men to suppress emotion does nothing but contribute to higher rates of suicide, substance abuse, and violence.
Okay.
Not to mention
substance abuse. Look at the link. Here's something that people want to ignore. Oh, I hate it too, because there's a problem in the community that I grew up in the hood, where people are taking Molly Percocets. They taking these pills that doctors subscribed, and kids are getting a hold of them and taking them to get high. And he'll talk about substance abuse on one hand, and then not admit that what the doctors are prescribing to people who struggle with regular depression and regular everyday problems, anxiety and things like that, are the same things people use to abuse drugs. What does it matter if a doctor prescribed it? You can still overuse it, and it's still not mentally something natural that you're supposed to do throughout life.
This type of idea also negatively impacts men within relationships. So we have already done, there's been plenty of studies on this, for example.
Hunter, your way's not working.
It's not.
Wait.
Your method's not working. Your view of men's mental health and everything is not working, and you're admitting it every day by taking an antidepressant.
Okay, if you're gonna just cling to like you take medicine, LOL, then that's fine.
Look how he tried to dumb down his argument. You're just gonna cling to you take medicine, LOL? No, he's getting upset because you're not acknowledging the hypocrisy of what you're saying. You're on antidepressants, sir, yet you're telling him that what he's saying about depression and overcoming obstacles and men striving is wrong, but you're on drugs.
But you're not making an argument right now.
It's not medicine.
It is medicine. It's been
not medicine.
Demonstrated to be effective, and I don't know what your hang-up is with this, okay? Chill the fuck out.
Look at you.
I want to read this to you really quickly.
He got mad. He said, chill the F out. Don't you talk about my meds. They're making me stable. He says, you chill the F out and listen to what I'm about to read. I got stuff to read to you about how these drugs are making me stable. If it wasn't for these drugs, I would be going crazy. That's what they want men to be nowadays.
I'm chill,
This talks about how there's masculine
I don't need
discrepancy
pills to be chill.
and intimate partner violence. It says, quote, research on gender roles suggests that men who strongly adhere to traditional masculine gender norms are at increased risk for the perpetuation of violent and abusive acts.
Shut up. These articles written by some blue-haired feminists don't mean anything, because like I said before, you can find an article that fits your narrative no matter what side you're on. People who believe in traditional gender roles are going to contribute to violence. Shut up. You wouldn't even know what a man... You don't know what a man is, so how would you know?
Towards their female intimate partners.
Okay, talk to me, man.
Female intimate partner. Oh, these people make me sick. You can find an article that shows a correlation for everything. They have articles now that says men are women and women are men. So come on, all these articles mean nothing until you can give me some actual scientific proof. How come y'all don't believe Jordan Peterson and what he say? He's classified as a doctor. He's classified as able to speak on these subjects, but y'all don't want to buy what he says because he doesn't agree with you. So you can always find somebody who agrees with you and somebody who doesn't. So get that crap out of here. I don't care about your article.
Even more so. Studies, bro. This is just a waste.
No, I know that you don't want me to read all of the information that completely obliterates all the
your information.
Okay, but let me finish at least, okay? It says, in the present study, we assess the effect of masculine discrepancy stress, a form of distress arising from
This is not having a debate or a conversation. You reading these articles is not a conversation with me.
It's not an article.
Anybody could sit and find 10 articles and just read them off, and that's why Sneako is pushing back on this. Because just because you find an article that agree with you don't mean nothing, and you want some, stop, let me read it. Let me read what the people who lead me tell me to say.
Well, it's a study, and I would like to just read the little blurb here, okay?
This is
educational for people listening, okay? In the present study, they assessed the effect of masculine discrepancy
If you're depressed,
stress,
you should not be educating people on happiness.
Yes.
a form of distress arising from perceived failure to conform to
Do any of these articles teach you how not to be on drugs?
the socially prescribed masculine gender role norms. Results indicate that masculine discrepancy
I know
stress
this helps you think, but you can look at me and talk to me, man. Nobody in the chat's listening to this. Like this, you're just reciting plot points. Have a conversation.
Wait, I understand if
Have a
everybody in
genuine
your chat is
conversation.
like a brain dead fucking cuck, but I'm trying to just demonstrate that.
What about what happened to ad hominems?
That the type of masculinity that you are consistently advocating for
It's toxic.
hurts men and hurts their future relationships.
Okay.
Nah, that's a stretch. Based on your one little left-wing article, you got to do better.
Do you know who's not on antidepressants? Andrew Tate, fresh.
Me. Men like me, the men that I hang around, the men I trust, none of them are. No man that I trust is on antidepressants. If you can't stabilize your emotions by yourself without some outside source, it's going to be hard for me to trust you around me. Because at any moment, let's say we out here and something happens and you didn't take your meds that day. Can I trust you to have my back? Or do you need some type of outside medicine to be able to do what men naturally should be able to do in life? I can't trust you. You can't be around me.
Fit me. The red pill people live happy lives. You don't take pills.
Wow. That's great, dude. That's super cool.
The idea
We keep talking about
He's so hurt by that true fact.
morning pills, and I'll get back to reading this. It says results indicated that masculine
this
discrepancy
is a
stress
waste.
significantly
Bro, I'm not
predicted.
listening to you talk. Read the study.
It's one more sentence.
Shh, shh, shh. Quiet. You be quiet.
Just calm down, please. Results indicated that masculine discrepancy stress significantly predicted men's historical perpetuation of intimate partner violence, independent of other masculinity-related variables.
Okay. Can you make
So the
it a new
type of
point now?
masculinity... No, we're not moving on yet.
You said
the
the
type
same
of
point
masculinity...
6 times in a row.
Because I don't know how else to get them through your thick fucking skull.
I don't know how to get them through your thick effing head. You don't believe what I believe, and therefore, you're wrong.
By arguing and talking to me and listening to what I'm saying right now.
Part of what forms a good argument are facts to back it up, okay? I'm just here to speak truth.
Are you? Okay.
You don't know what truth is. These same people will say, I'm here to speak truth, and then they believe truth is relative. That you can have your truth and I can have my truth. I hate when people use words and they don't understand what they mean. If you're going to talk about truth, then let's talk about where the truth came from. You can't say I'm here to speak truth, and then if you dig deeper, everyone's truth is the same. Because you know that's what he believes. They all believe that same nonsense. That there's no such thing as truth. If you dig deeper, I bet you he will believe that. And if there is a such thing as truth, where did it come from? Where did it come from? Because if you're not willing to answer these questions, don't use words like truth. You can say, my opinion. These are my opinion from scientists who also share my opinion. But don't talk about truth unless you want to talk about where truth came from and the foundation that you build on truth. Because the truth is actually a person.
Let me tell you a fact. Everybody in the red pill world that you are calling toxic and that you're against, all those people don't take antidepressants.
Why are you so obsessed with this?
Because you're talking about happiness.
Why?
You are on a pill that
Why do you keep bringing up my drug problem?
declares your unhappiness.
I think that this is actually really demonstrating a fatal flaw with your reasoning here. So, for example, do you realize that somebody could give accurate and correct advice on healthy eating if they themselves are fat?
That doesn't mean they have credibility.
They can't. No,
Did you know that?
Not listen.
If somebody's fat, they can still say, the studies demonstrate that this is the best method forward for losing weight.
Would you hire a fat personal trainer?
That's not the question, or that's
You don't like that question. That's not the question. That's not the question. You asked me the question that I want to be asked. Because it's taking the conversation in a way that I don't like. You keep pointing out that I'm depressed, teaching men about depression, and it's making me look stupid, and I don't like it.
That's
It's my
irrelevant
question.
again
It's
to what I
not-
just said.
it's
It's
a
not a
genuine
personal
question.
trainer. It's about whether or not the factual information being delivered is accurate. No, if you were going to get a personal trainer, yeah, you would want somebody who's in shape.
Okay.
However, if there's a fat person delivering information about how to lose weight, whether or not they're fat has no bearing on whether or not the information is correct.
Okay.
Here's the problem. You're giving people what you guys are discussing right now are antidotes to problems in life. And you're saying men should not go about life that way. You're saying Sneako's way of teaching men to go about life is wrong. Your way of teaching men to go about life is right. But yet, in your way of life that you can see lived out, that if you did not believe it, you would not be doing it, You believe your antidote is correct, yet you depend on drugs to help you cope with life. And you don't want to acknowledge that that's not the healthy way to go through life. And because you don't want to acknowledge that, it's making you look stupid, because who wants to sit and tell and listen to your opinions about how a man should cope through life when you can't even cope through it without the dependence on drugs? There's several people and men that listen to you that might be depressed, but they don't want to take a pill to make them not depressed. They want to actually fix the things in life that are happening around them. And you told them to skip all that and just take some pills. Now, I'm dumbing it down a little bit. You tell them to go get therapy. Talk to people. Let your emotions out. Take antidepressants if you need to. And every doctor is going to subscribe a man antidepressants, just like doctors when I was young described me with ADD, because the learning environment is not conducive for young men. Everything is feminized now. And in this feminine world, men have lost purpose and therefore they feel more depressed.
Chat, type of 1 if you would not take information from a fat personal trainer seriously.
I
want your chat to hear it too.
Why are you doing this, my dude?
Why
it's like
are
you're
you
not
doing
capable
this?
of hearing what I'm actually saying right now.
I heard
Why are you doing this? It's unnecessary and cruel.
hearing everything. But that's a great point. If you're
Look at his face. I have to laugh because I read body language and I do this for my job. And look at his face. He's so upset. He wants to slam something right now, but he can't. And the reason why he wants to slam something is because he's not in control of his emotions. Maybe he's past due for another pill or something. Here's the problem. He just looks at it with so much anger and vitriol. Look at his face. If he had enough masculinity, he would be violent. But he doesn't have enough masculinity, so he has to stay in his soft little bubble. The problem is that men like this, who are not in control of their emotions, often do have the capability to harm other people. And because they are not in control of their emotions, they cause harm to other people. The problem is not toxic masculinity, it's a lack of masculinity.
on antidepressants, then you shouldn't talk about happiness the same way a fat person shouldn't talk about health.
That's not true. Whether or not I'm on antidepressants, whether or not somebody's fat, is irrelevant as to whether or not the information they're delivering
No, it's not.
is accurate.
Because if you believe something, you should do. The black community got a saying, if you knew better, you do better. But yet, you ain't doing nothing.
Would you personally hire a fat personal trainer?
No, that's not the claim I made, and that's irrelevant to the
I'm
argument.
not talking about your claim.
If you're going to get
I'm asking you a question. It's a different question. It's a different claim. Would you hire...
You're missing the point so bad.
I understand your point, but would you hire a fat personal trainer?
No.
Okay.
Because a personal trainer is somebody who needs to be in shape. However, if there's somebody, some fat fuck sitting on the internet giving information as to how to lose weight, whether or not they're fat is irrelevant as to whether or not the information
What YouTuber is?
Tell me
what YouTuber is that? Tell me a fat YouTuber who's talking about health properly.
This is a hypothetical, Sneako.
It's a hypothetical, but you're acting like it's real. That doesn't exist because nobody would take it seriously.
No one would take it seriously. He's right. You're telling Sneako what he shouldn't say about men's mental health, about how men should operate in the world, and yet you don't know how to operate in the world.
An analogy for you so that you can try and
then give me the
understand.
analogy. The same way that men shouldn't listen to you because you're on antidepressants is the same reason why a fat personal trainer YouTuber doesn't exist and why you are not resonating with men across the world.
Okay,
Nobody's going to take what you say seriously if you aren't happy.
Stop. I'm not saying a fat personal trainer.
A fat
I'm saying if a fat person sits down and tells you something about how to lose weight, the information they're giving it's whether or not it's accurate is irrelevant as to whether or not the person giving the information is fat or not.
That's true. But would you take it seriously?
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. That's all I needed.
Would you take it seriously though?
It's as to whether or not the claim is sound. It's not as to whether or not the person delivering it is in the best health.
Would you take that seriously? If you had a fat doctor tell you to start losing weight, and yes, the information could be correct, would you listen seriously?
Probably, if it was told from my personal doctor, yeah.
You had a fat doctor.
This is the problem, though. Because liberals often think that someone's position gives them authority blanketly. They believe if a doctor said it, it must be true. If a doctor said to wear your mask, then you should just wear it. If Dr. Fauci said it, just believe it. They don't have any ability to critically think for themselves. That's why they put people in certain positions, so they can tell you what to do when you don't have to do the hard work of thinking for yourself. Think for yourself. If they tell you to wear a mask and then you go into a restaurant and as soon as you sit down breathing the same air and you take off that mask to eat, how is that mask doing any good? They don't want you to think. Just don't think. Listen to the doctors. Listen to the people we have put in authority. Listen to the World Health Commission. Listen to people we have put and selected from who knows where to tell you what to do. And that's what they want. For you to just listen and blanketly believe something. I don't do that for anything. Only person that I blanketly believe is God. And guess what? Even God's word, I still sift through. I still look at it and say, is this right because of this? And I study it and I test it and I see. Even God says, taste and see that the Lord is good. Test it. The Bereans were known in the Bible to test what the apostles said. You don't just blindly believe anything. But liberals always blindly believe. Doctor said it. This is settled science. Remember when they kept saying that? This is settled science. It ain't no such thing. By definition, science can never be settled because we're always studying and learning more. But people will say that. You know what? We'll stop the video right here for today. I'm going to continue this because I think this is a really good conversation and it's a lot to learn from. And masculinity is under attack nowadays. I don't really care what you think. I see it every day and I'm under attack because I'm a masculine male. So why are you going to tell me masculinity is not under attack if I get attacked for believing the things that I believe? So tomorrow we're going to continue it. It's Jack Bravo. Hey, you guys, it's been a fun time. We're going to continue right where we left off. We at about the halfway point of the video. It's a lot to be learned here. A lot to be learned. Thanks for joining me.